What's happening, folks? It's your all-time favorite Brandon T.L. Nelson, and I am back with another conversation with one of the dopest dads in the world. Now, I've known him for several years since I was in college. He was my pro fight. We both knew us from Beta Chi, and so it's been a long time coming, this conversation. So all the way from Albany, New York, we got Salim Holder.
What up? What up?
Intro, man. Like,
I love it.
like it's a boxing match. You feel
Right.
me?
Let's get it going. Let's get it going.
For sure. But look, man, first, on behalf of Dear Fathers, man, thank you for taking out the time in your day. We know that you're an entrepreneur. We know that you're a father, a husband, and so many other hats that you wear. And so we're truly appreciative of you taking out some time to chop it up with us, man.
Yeah, I'm happy you reached out, brother, man. I mean, I love what you're doing. I love what the whole platform is all about. I think it's important that we talk about not just business, but the fatherhood. Fatherhood is a huge part of my life,
Yeah.
when I was a kid to being a father now. So I'm excited to engage in the convo, man.
Well, let's jump right in. You talk about, being a son, being a child of parents, and transitioning to fatherhood. Tell me a little bit about your early fatherhood experience as a child and what that was like for you interacting with your father, and kind of some of the things that you were able to glean from him as you approach fatherhood.
Yo, my father is dope, right? Like my father he's one of those fathers that's there from I never could remember a time where he wasn't there, and my
Yeah.
dad, I'm the youngest of three kids. My parents both, they from New York City, from Queens, brought us up in Albany just so we could have a slightly different life, a little bit. But my father always kept me grounded in who I was and understanding
Mm-hmm.
my culture, understanding my background. He always helped me to learn to be respectful, not only to myself, but to other people, women and men included, to everybody, elders, etc. He taught me the foundation and that allowed me to kind of see life through a different lens, and that as much as you're able to achieve, you don't do it without people who help lay that work for you. So that means that once you get something, you don't necessarily owe anybody, but you should feel compelled to turn right back around and help bring the next person up. And my dad was coaching my basketball teams. He came to every
Yeah.
soccer game, was there with my speeches in student government, Cub Scout. He wasn't even in the Cub Scouts and going into the woods, but he's like, yo, let's go with
I'm
you.
gonna be there.
Yeah, I'm gonna be there. And that's what my dad did. He's like, yo, I'm there 100%. And that was amazing for me to see that as the type of a man that you need to be. And for me and my brother to kind of see that growing up was amazing, and it just always it completely shaped who I am.
So speaking of that, you talk about how essentially his presence made a difference, right? And
Yeah.
so, what was the difference? Do you feel that it made? Because I grew up in a household. My father wasn't there, and his absence was really beyond my understanding in my adolescence, and I
Yeah.
began to understand why he wasn't present. And so, what was the importance of hearing and knowing and recognizing and even loving your father's voice through his presence?
Man, to your point, I don't know what it's like not to. So
Mhm.
it's like it's hard to give that different perspective, right? It's like it's always been there. But I can say that now, as being a father, there's certain things, situations that come up with my son that remind me of my dad, as things I'm like,
Give me
I'm
one.
trying to teach my
Give
son.
me one.
Like I'll give you a perfect example, just something basic, as
Yeah.
my dad used to always tell me, don't force it, right? And so, for example, like he'd be like, yo, I'm trying to fix something, and you know how sometimes the screwdriver's not on right, but he's like,
Yeah.
right? And it's like, if you don't force it, then it just comes out, you get it right, and it moves easy. I was always like, you gotta push it harder,
Gotta
like,
get
right? So
it.
it's like, flip that to my son, right? And it's like, my
Yeah.
son, he was trying to do something, the same thing. And I had to teach him, it's like, don't force it. But then I realized in that one small, like, learning point, how that don't force it actually became a big part of my character. Because it's not just
Yeah.
don't force, like, the screwdriver or whatever, but it's also like, if certain things, certain paths you're trying to go down, it's not working, don't force it. It don't mean stop trying. It don't mean don't go down a path. It means don't force it. Maybe you got to take a step back and reassess, right? And
Yeah.
that's
Yeah.
the learning thing. So I didn't know that until later, but there's so many of those small things that my dad was just there to teach me, and that maybe somebody else would have taught me. I don't know, but he did. You know what I mean?
Yeah, for
And
sure.
so I appreciate that.
And so we're living in a time, man, as a new parent for me, my son, he'll be a year old, and what's today? I think, what's today? The 7th, the 8th, something
7th,
like that.
yep, 7th,
And
yep.
like, so in 11 days, he'll be a year. And I would have never imagined trying to parent during a pandemic, right?
Yeah,
And
yeah.
so talk to me about what that experience has been like parenting prior to a pandemic and that transition during the pandemic. I can only imagine because my son was born on the right before this all hit, and so was that transition difficult for you, and how did you adjust?
Yeah, it's I can't say it was crazy difficult, but this is what was difficult about it was the circumstances behind it, right? So before
Okay.
the pandemic, I'm out, traveling, I'm meeting people in the city, I'm working hard, I come home, I might be home during the day for a few hours, hang out, I'll go to his school thing, whatever, I go to his karate thing, whatever he got going on, I'm there, right? But at the same time, I was still gone at different parts of the day, different parts of the week, different times. Now, of course, pandemic is like, yo, we here 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. We in this house together. We going to connect right now. And so what I think was different about it, it was how much time now that I had to spend where I couldn't
Yeah.
now and I guess I would also say I had the time to spend, but I also realize now the circumstances around this are scary, especially if it was
Okay.
scary for me, especially
Yeah.
being here in New York. I'm actually in White Plains, right outside the city. I'm actually like a couple towns away from New Rochelle, which was on CNN as like the epicenter when
The
this thing first
epicenter.
started, when they bring in the National Guard in. And so, my son's watching the news like, yo, what's going on? Right.
Yeah.
And I'm like looking like, wow. I'm like, so all that I'm trying to manage how I feel about it with him, making sure that he's not feeling overwhelmed and nervous and
Yeah.
scared. And so that was also something that was different. It's like, yo, how do I I'm trying to be real with him about it, but at the same time, I'm just trying to isolate him from some of these things that he don't need to be scared about right now. He's 6 years old, right? And
Yeah.
so what I then did was I make sure we go outside every day and we go for a walk. We play basketball outside. We play soccer outside. We throw the frisbee, dart gun fight, whatever. Like wherever he wants to do, we got a time where we're active outside. We're doing fun things, and it's interesting how much we've now bonded over that. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's like just spending more time. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Spending more time, my man. But I've tried to guide him from being scared and seeing things like, oh my God, I can't do anything, to being careful but informed. You know what I'm saying? So
Yeah.
it's definitely
So
different.
So tell me, what has parenting during this pandemic taught you about yourself? Well, what have you learned about yourself as a man, and even as a father and a husband?
Yeah, I mean,
That's a deep
taking
question.
care. Yeah, it is, man. It is because it's like because we go through these transitions in our life, right? And so like I had been for so long, hustling, single dude out there,
Yeah,
just getting it, in terms of career wise, whatever, and focus on me,
for
right? And so
sure.
then I met my wife, and then of course, we got married and we had kids, and then but still the focus was on like career wise, pushing those things. This, it
Mm,
made me take a step back and say, yo, what's really important in this life?
important. Yeah, yeah,
What's
yeah.
really important in this life? And a lot of times now where there's all these things we can't do, and we start to realize we didn't need to do them anyway. We didn't
That's
need to
deep.
spend our time there anyway. You know what I'm saying?
That's
It's like
real.
I was, and because I was going like in this, mindset, like I'm moving. But this really, it made me take a step back and be like, yo, like I I I mean, I'm working from home every day.
Yeah, yeah,
I'm working. I'm getting more work done here because I'm not taking an hour to get into the city and then hour to walk here and then talking to this
yeah.
person and not 30 minutes to walk over here. I wake up in the morning, I eat breakfast with them. We go outside for a walk. I might start work at 10 o'clock, go upstairs for lunch around 1, work until 5. Yo, that's a strong day. And I'm just like working all day. There's
Yeah.
nobody walking in the office distracted, talk like it's like we
Yeah.
working, yo.
Got
So
no water cooler talk at the crib.
yeah, none of that. Exactly. So I've been more efficient and more effective, and I've been spending more
Mm,
quality time at home with the family. So it just allowed me to reprioritize things. And especially when things have been as
mm.
scary as they have been, it also allowed me to say, yo, my role is here to protect this family and
Wow.
protect them, and also to make sure that I'm just not protecting in security, but I'm allowing them to continue to grow and to develop. So I'm protecting their ability to grow and to develop into the people that they're gonna be, which
Yeah,
you know, I
yeah.
wasn't thinking on those terms really like that, but I was
Yeah.
trying to keep it a little bit, you know. That
Yeah,
was
for
it.
sure. So talk to me a little bit. Your oldest son is like six and a half,
Six and a
right?
half, yeah.
So tell me about the moment that you found out that you were going to be a father, and particularly to a son. What was that moment like for you?
Man, so that was so it was amazing because you know my
Yeah,
wife had moved up here. It was about a year and a half after my wife moved up to New York, and you know, we found out we were pregnant. You know, she's pregnant. I was like, you know, I'm excited. Yeah, all right, I'm gonna be a
yeah.
dad. You know, I'm excited. She was walking around. She had a name already in her head. She's like, we're gonna, and she peeped it. She was like, we're gonna name her L. Like, so in her eyes, it was already a girl. She was like, guaranteed it's a girl. And I'm saying, nah, I'm pretty sure it's gonna be a boy, but like, you know. And then when we took the test, and you know, we did the test or you know, whatever, and they found out, I was like, oh, it's actually a boy.
Yeah.
And I mean, you know, I'm ecstatic. I was like, yo, yes, I'm gonna have my little man. You know, I'd have been
Yeah, yeah.
excited regardless. But as my first child, I wanted to say I would be excited that it was my son. And I'll tell you, like, it was challenging times though, because when he was born 3 months early. And
Oh,
so
okay.
he was
Okay.
born 3 months premature.
Yeah.
And you know, now like everything, you would not even know that he was premature. He's healthy, he's strong, he's happy. Like, but during that time, it was some stressful times, yo. And it was like, I'll never forget the time when he came out, when he was born, and I'm just sitting there looking at him like, you know, you never had a kid before, so I'm just sitting here like
Yeah.
in awe, like with everything that just happened. I'm just looking at him, and they told us though, right? Again, he's 3 months early, so they told us there was a lot of doctors and different teams of doctors in there. They're like, yo, when he comes out, he might not be breathing, and that's okay. We'll like, we're just giving you the heads up. So like, this was serious too, right? And I'm
Yeah,
trying
yeah,
to
yeah, yeah.
maintain my mentality for my wife, who's, you know, going through it. So when he came out and, you know, like he popped out and everything, you know, was okay. And I'm just looking at him, and the doctor was like, it's all right, yo, say something. It's your son. You know what I mean? So
Yeah.
I was just like, hi, yo. And as soon as I said hi, his eyes opened up like, yo, where are you?
Where am I? Yeah.
And it was just like, it's like, yo, he could hear my voice, you know, over, you know, towards the end of the pregnancy. You could hear the things that are
For
happening. It was just
sure. Yeah.
like a connection. Like when he heard my voice, there's other people talking. Soon as
Mm.
he heard my voice, his eyes opened up like, daddy, where you at? And that was
Yeah.
like, whoa, I got a son.
Yeah, 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 yeah.
So it was like, it was life changing, that whole experience, that experience, you know.
Yeah, I mean, I can only imagine, man. I think sometimes we fail to forget that not only as children, but even the children that we have, we are the only ones that will ever hear our mother's heartbeat from the inside, right?
Yes,
And we're
yes,
also the only ones that will hear our father's voice first time from the
yes,
inside, you know.
yes,
And so
yeah,
we're able to recognize those things immediately. And so
yeah,
we're going to make a quick transition. I call it the Dear Father's transition. So we're going to get into, you know, we're going from your firstborn to what your
yes,
baby is now from an
yes.
entrepreneurial standpoint.
Yeah,
And so, like
yeah.
I said, I've known you for a long time, man. You've always been a solid guy. Always, you know, even
Appreciate
from the days of pledging and all that type of stuff, man. You just always been a solid guy, man. And so I know that I remember like it was yesterday, bro. I don't know, I can't remember how many years ago, but I remember the video. You were in your car, and it looked like you were driving through like a wooded area, and there was a lot of trees around, and you were just driving, and you were talking about, it was on LinkedIn, and you were talking about, basically, I just quit my job, and I'm on this entrepreneur route. It's scary. I don't know what it looks like, what it's going to be, but this is
Yeah,
where I'm at.
yeah.
What was happening in your head in that moment, and what led to making that decision, and what has been, what has come as a result of that decision?
Yeah, yo, let me tell you, man. When I tell you, in my heart, I knew there was one day I was gonna have my own business. I knew that from when I was back at Hampton. In
Sure.
what? I didn't know how. I didn't know. I was just like, in my heart, that's eventually where I'm gonna go. But I also knew that it was going to be something that contributes to our community and to benefit our community and our people. That has always been something I've been passionate about. And so, long story short, I went and, you know, I got my MBA, and I had decided that I was going to work for, I said, call it 5-7 years. I was going to work because my goal was get experience on somebody else's dime. Let
For
me learn
sure.
how to make these mistakes and grow these, right? So I got a chance to work with Fortune 500, Fortune 100 companies and to run their marketing and to manage the team. So I learned a whole lot. And honestly, it just got to a point where I'm looking at, I went from Kotex, feminine care, to liquor, to denture adhesives, to men's grooming, and I'm growing these brands by millions of dollars. Didn't matter the industry, didn't matter the category. I was like, wow. So if I could do it for them, then I could certainly do it for myself. And
Do
as
it for
I got
myself.
more and more to the point where I was like, yo, I'm just not feeling satisfied or fulfilled with this, where I'm at right now. All I knew is that where I was at, where it was not where I wanted to be. And so I just kind of got to a point I'll never forget. Talking about fathers, my brother hit me up one day, and he always knew I always wanted to run my own business. And we had kind of talked about, in our family, there was this kind of weird thing that had happened for generations, where generation after generation on my father's side of the family, Black men did not make it to the age of 60 for whatever reason, whether it was a heart attack, was an accident, whatever. My dad used to think like the family might have been cursed or something. And so, my dad made it to age of 60. I mean, he's, living now, 68, something, 69 years old, right? Or 70 years old now, actually, right? But it was my dad's cousin that made it to 60, and then finally my dad. But my brother called me up, and he was like, listen, you've always talked about running your own business. I see you got mad experience. You've done this, you've done that.
Yeah.
What are you waiting for? It's like, yo, there's no guarantee that we're going to be even 60 in our lives, right? There's no even guarantee. So it was like, what you waiting for? And it kind of light bulb clicked. And I was like, yo, I got a lot of experience. What am I waiting for? As I look out and I see all these other people starting their own businesses, doing all these things that didn't nearly have the same type of experience or even had the same education or the same network, but they could succeed. So I was like, yo, I could succeed too. And it really just came down to me. When I left that company, when I talk about the universe working, the universe worked in a way that was kind of crazy. I was like, I stepped out of the company. I stepped out on faith. And I was like, I'm just going to chart my own path. And when you saw that video was literally me. I don't even know what compelled me to make that video. And honestly, it took me a year plus to even post that video because I just like, I'm not a big poster on social media. I'm not a big, right. So, but I just compelled to make the video in the moment. I was feeling pretty bad, yo. I was feeling like, oh my God, what did I just do? Because I'm making 6 figures out here, making good money, careers going in a great direction. We just bought a house a year before that. I got a son. Didn't know I was going to have a daughter coming, but at that time, I got a son, I got a daughter, I got a wife. I need to make sure everybody's happy, but I'm stepping out here on faith like I'm going to figure it out. And when I talk about the universe working, as I started moving down that path, started teaching at General Assembly, digital marketing. I started doing some consulting. I started getting more DJ gigs. And like, I was hustling, right?
Yeah.
But then
doing what you got to do.
Doing what I got to do. And then this lady who I had known for a while, I had went and talked to her. She's a broker. And as a broker, her job was to get products in the stores from corner stores or Walmart, Walgreens, et cetera. She worked with manufacturers and distributors to do it. A year prior, she had told me that she started this company. The company was called JuicyDo.com. And this is a white lady, cool as hell. White lady, she was like, the focus is ethnic hair care, multicultural products. And I was like, okay, cool. So you fast forward a year now when I left the company and I'm speaking to her about this other product that I thought was a good idea. I was like, yo, what do you think? Think we can get this on the shelves? She's like, honestly, cool idea, but Salim, I think you should scrap that. She said, I think you should work on this. I just want to retire. This business over here, she's like, it's okay, but I just want to retire. She's had many other businesses, very successful woman. And so I talked to Tim, my LB. I talked to Tim, who, we talked for many years. He's software engineering background. He knows e-commerce. And here I am, I'm like a marketing experience, marketing background. And so what this lady had through this company was what we bought from her was not the website itself. And it wasn't even just the name of it. It was the relationships. She had already relationships with these distributors and these brands and manufacturers, which made it so when we purchased it overnight, we became the largest Black-owned online hair and beauty supply platform in the U.S.
Wait, Salim. Say that again. I want people to hear what you just said. Say that again. Became the
Oh,
largest what?
yeah, the largest Black-owned online beauty and hair supply retail platform in the U.S. Over
Crazy.
7,000 products on the platform. And let me tell you, man, when we first did this, we didn't even realize the opportunity. We were just like, let's just make a little cash on the side. You know, I've got these relationships, put the site up, let's make a little cash on the side. Then we started to do some diligence, started to understand the category a little bit more. And start to realize like, yo, this number one, we started from our own perspective, right? Of going into stores and being like, yo, why is it that I got to go to this ethnic set that's got a little 4-foot section and it's not even, it's like 2 shampoos, 2 styling creams. This is my selection where I can choose from, right? So I started to think about when I went into the store now and saw that set, I started to think about it a little different. Because now here, fast forward, like rewind back to my brand management experience, I would sell stuff into Walmart, Target, CVS, and Walgreens. And when you sell products into them, you got to have a financial reason to be on the shelf. So as I now look at this and I say, wait a minute, you got this 4-foot set, this ethnic set. Is the black hair care industry not that big? So I start to look and I said, wow, this is a $2.5 billion industry. And that's just talking about, that's not even talking about hair treatments and hair extensions and braids and wigs. Like, we're just talking about the products. That's $2.5 billion category that's growing. It's the fastest growing segment of all hair care. So when I started to think about that, I was like, so why is it that we only got this 4-foot section on the shelf? Because I manage dentures and other brands that are $300 million categories that have been declining for 10 years. And they got like 20 feet of space in the store. So you say, well, wait a minute, yo, what's really going on here? And so then I look at and think about, it's like, well, where else do we go to buy products? Because I don't usually go to Walgreens in those places because I already know they don't got nothing for me. So when I need something, where we usually go, we go to the
Always gonna be that one product line, that
one product line. That's it. They got their 3 major companies that own that space. So if you want Soft Sheen or something, they probably got it. But the new stuff, they're not even thinking about it, right? And so where you go to find it, a lot of times is the stores in our community that's not owned by people from our community.
So look,
right?
so I want to talk about that because I don't want you to get into this question. I'm gonna ask it first, but being in the industry, first of all, the company is called 4th Avenue Market, correct? So we're gonna talk about that name a little bit, but coming into this, when you're looking at where our community, Black folks, African Americans, have such an influence in the buying power of these things, whether it's hair, whether it's product, whatever it is, but then you look at the ownership and it doesn't equate. What did that put you and Tim? What was your all's thought process going into? Was it like, you know what, we can achieve all, or this gonna be challenging, or like what was that thought process like?
Yeah, the thought process was like exactly like what I was explaining to was understanding how and why it is the way that it is, right? And so what I started to understand is that it's not that there weren't many of us who were trying to open up our own stores, right? They were getting shut down because 80% of the whole black hair care industry is in the hands of typically Korean market, Korean owners, right? And so what I said is like, well, what if we were able to create this new ecosystem to change the way that works? So we looked at it and said, well, what are the challenges that are stopping us? One was most of the ownership was from one place and they were like, we not letting you in. Well, we found a way to get ownership and get products that didn't have anything to do with tapping that other 20%. We're not even touching that other 80% yet, right? And so we start there and looked at that. And then I also understood, well, what's really pushing behind these retailers and why it's so hard for them to get on the shelf or for these brands. Yo, they don't know, these brands don't know many Black-owned retailers to work with. So because I had relationships with a lot of these brand managers, because I've worked with most of them, or I was like, yo, how many retailers I know how easy it was for them to add a logo on the site. I knew how relevant it was for them to actually do advertising in this market, because I'll add to that, I also, after being on the brand manager side, I was trying to actually take a product against a lot of resistance within the company, but I was trying to take a product and say, yo, let's go into the Black community with this product. Let's go through barbers and stylists. You don't need to have TV commercials. You don't need to have it's even be sold in Target. You go through the barbers and stylists, they are key to this community.
I'm gonna tell you, look, you're not lying, because first of all, we don't see commercials that's a kind of a for us by us type of thing, right? You'll see like the Pantene, and I don't want to call names, but you'll see product lines that will try to target us, but it's not made by us.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And some authenticity is lost. And this is what I realized
Okay.
about this whole thing was I was like, yo, there's so few of me in the brand management world that will sit at the table and say, we need to target the Black community, right? There's not many Black people that are there sit at the table in the first place. So that a lot of times the conversation isn't even relevant or top of mind. When it is, if you're not from the community, you don't know how to get into the community. You don't know that. You think about your barber in the same way. I go, some of them go, some people go see their barber once every 2 months, right?
Yeah.
I'm in the barbershop like every other week, every
week.
week, right? You know what I mean? And it's a whole different kind of conversation there. And it actually goes back to think about civil rights. That was one of the only places that we can have a conversation without having anybody other interference. No white people didn't want to go to the Black barbershop. Right? They didn't want to be in there. So that was the only place we can have any conversation, which is why historically it has been such a place of influence in our community. And so when people realize, if you're not from the community, you don't know that. If you're from the community, you realize that and recognize, wow, with this database of barbers and stylists, we can actually go right around this stuff. Like we don't necessarily, we're going to hit some barriers, but we can actually go right around those barriers.
We can go direct to the consumer.
We can go direct to the consumer, skip over all of that. And that's what we've been doing.
So the name 4th Avenue Market, how was that developed? Because when you all acquired the business from the lady, it had a different name. And so what went into, I don't know why, but when I hear 4th Ave, for some reason I think of Philly. I don't know why, but I do. But I don't even know what 4th Street in Philly, where that is, what it means. But that's the first thing that comes to my mind. But anyway, how did you all come up with the name? What was the thought process behind that?
Yeah, so we started off thinking about the premise, what we were trying to do. And then we said, all right, well, what's the best name that helps to bring that premise to life? And for us, the whole idea was like, we are going to redefine the way retail works for people of color. We are going to change the way it works. And by doing that, what we want to do is we want to see this dollar get reinvested back in our community so we can see that dollar circulate and help to build the economic prowess and economic power of the Black community. So when we thought about that, we were like, it's not like this is a new idea. And it's not like this hasn't happened before. And so we started to look back at where it did. And we saw Black Wall Street, Greenwood Ave in Tulsa, Oklahoma. We talk about Little Haiti in North Carolina. We talk about 4th Avenue District in Birmingham, Alabama. And when we looked at it all, we leaned towards 4th Avenue District because of the historical significance behind 4th Ave Market in Birmingham. Like 4th Ave Market, if you think in the center of 4th Ave Market is the 16th Street Baptist Church, where the 4 little girls who got bombed in the civil rights movement, that's in the center of 4th Ave District. Those images that you see, I think it's Kelly Ingram Park, those images you see of the kids getting laid out with fire hoses and attacked by dogs, that was in the center of 4th Ave District in Birmingham, Alabama. 60% of all Black-owned businesses during that time were done right in 4th Avenue District in Birmingham. And so that was the same place where that was like ground zero of Alabama's ground zero of the whole civil rights movement. And so beyond just the economic, what it said about the economics and the economic power of the community, there was also that tone of that civil rights movement that was just saying, we not sitting here dealing with this anymore. We're going to go ahead and we're going to make changes, and we're going to make changes that work for our community. And we're going to use people in our community to make those changes, to benefit from those changes. And that dollar will also go back to our community. Since all that was happening in 4th Ave District, we were like, wow, the story was amazing. More people need to know about it. And we said we want to live by the values of 4th Ave District. We want to create that 21st century Black Wall Street, that 21st century 4th Ave District, which can obviously start online and can go right into our community. So that's why we thought of the name 4th Ave, to be able to tell that story.
Well, and I can definitely see that you all have reimagined what 4th Ave can be in present day. Taking some of those, as you mentioned, those images from the civil rights movement and using it as a pedestal to say, you know what, we're moving on and forward and beyond all of this. And that kind of goes into, there's a page on the website where you all are highlighting other Black brands, which I think is dope. And, sometimes you'll see that people they may shout them out, or, they may wear, you know, in the video or whatever, they may wear their apparel or whatever the case may be. But I really see it as a movement, like when the Gap commercial with LL, he wore that "for us, by us" type of hat. He was like, no matter what, I'm going to promote my
Yep.
own. But you
Yep.
all have taken a stance to give others some exposure.
Yeah.
Why? I know
Yo.
why, but I want to know
Yeah.
why.
Yeah. Yo, because, you know, our mission is like, yo, coming from the brand world, yo, I recognize that it's less than 1.4%. It's like 1% of media dollars, advertising dollars are spent specifically on media that specifically targets the Black consumers, right? And so
1%.
that money is typically spent by these bigger companies anyway. And so the challenge then becomes, how do me as a small company who has been systematically kept off of shelves, right? There's brands like big companies will spend millions of dollars to keep this brand off the shelf, who is probably an amazing brand. And it's not just because they're Black, right? It's just all really, I say, to protect their bottom line, to protect their numbers. They don't want any
Sure.
competition coming in the show. So I don't necessarily want to go down a path of saying it's a racist thing of that happening. But either
Right.
way, we're the ones that lose. We're the ones that lose. It's our manufacturers that can't get on the shelf. It's our consumers that can't find products that we want. And so I was like, yo, that's crazy that it has to be that way, because we have people who got great products that need to go out there. And more importantly, our consumers are looking for products, because when I don't want to name any companies, but major companies out there pay to keep these products off, and they say, give me 6 months, and they come up with something that's inferior, that don't help us. Even when we
Right.
go out there and we try it out because we got access to it. So I was kind of upset thinking about that. And I was like, yo, why can't we actually create a platform that gives opportunity for our manufacturers to get in front of our consumers? Because you got consumers that are looking for stuff, manufacturers are looking to sell stuff, but they didn't have a platform that gave them an equal opportunity to actually get awareness. So we said, we're going to be that platform. And so when brands get sold on our site, we're working hard to make sure that we don't just take them on a site and put them on a site and hope they sell. We're like, no, we're going to carve out this section of the site. We're going to show you videos that show your mission, that talk about your products. We're going to have other advertising opportunities to get their product out there. I know how hard it is as a brand to get 5,000 people to your site on a monthly basis, right? We've been able to get 100,000 people on a monthly basis to Fourth Ave Market
That's
site.
huge.
So how much can they benefit from that exposure?
Yeah.
You know, and we're just getting started. So like when we have 1 million people coming to the site on a monthly basis, these brands need to get that exposure. Like our people need to get that exposure. We try to put money back into our hands. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So that's why we're doing it. It's not even a question. It's like, we happy to do that, you know?
And I think that not only the access, but the exposure is so critical, man. I think it's so very important. How many SKUs do you all have right now on the website?
Yeah, we got over 7,000 products on the site. 7,000 different SKUs, man.
And it's so crazy to hear that, man, to be able to tangibly reach out and know who you are, and know that you and Tim are responsible for creating this community where people can have products that are made specifically for us and by us, man. I think that's dope. And so as an entrepreneur, how important is it for you to model for your kids, man, self-sufficiency, that not that anything is wrong for working for someone else, because I still have a 9 to 5, and you know, it helps me fund what I hope to do and then take that leap of faith as you did one day. But how important is it to you to model for them, and how do you think they perceive what Daddy does?
Yeah, so you know, it's been really interesting to think about that, because you know, my son is only 6.5, right? And so
Right.
these last 6 months, he's really coming to really understand a lot more about what's going on. And I think what's been exciting is that he's been there where I get off of work, I pick him up from daycare. You know, he see me, I drop off of daycare, I go to work. So he's always, Daddy, you going to work, you going to work. But now he's seen his transition. And I think what's really exciting for him is that he sees Daddy's home now. Daddy's home working. I'm still working, but now I'm in the basement working. I'm doing this, and I have different time. And now when he talks about Daddy's going to work, Daddy's working his own company, and Daddy's that. But I think it's important for me to help him understand is, like, regardless of whether you work for somebody else or have your own company of your own, life is about you having choices. Life is about you being able to choose what you want to do. right? And so for
Sure.
me, there was never an issue with me working for anybody. I knew that that was a step towards me achieving what I wanted to do, right? And
Mhm.
so for some people, they're like, I don't want to be an entrepreneur. I could work for this company and take the money or experience or the network or the resource to do other things that I want to do in my life
Mhm.
to enable it. And so what I just want to teach him is that there is no set path that you have to go on. It's not you go to school, you get a job, work 40 years. You don't have to do that path. You
Yeah.
could go to school, work for a year, start your own company, fail in that company, do something different, succeed in something different. But I just want him to understand that his life is, he got to be the one that's 100% accountable and responsible for his life. And this is like an epiphany that I had when my brother said it to me. Is like, what are you waiting for? And I jumped out here and I was like, yo, at the end of the day, because I know somebody came and they offered me a job and it was a great company. And I was like, I needed some money. And I was like, oh, should I take it? I don't know, right? But I was like, yo, at the end of the day, I was like, if I don't try to go down this path and I see myself 50, 55, 60, whatever years old, and I look at, I'm just going to regret it. I'm
Yeah.
going to just regret it. So I was like, what's worst case? I go and I swing and I miss, right? But at the same time, I kind of knew myself and knowing Tim and knowing Beta Kai brothers, like when we say
Yeah.
this is what we're going to do,
We
we
gonna
might,
do
well, yeah, it's like, it do say it's going to be easy,
it.
but there ain't no stopping. Like we
Yeah.
gonna make it happen. So like once that mentality shifted, where I was like kind of holding on to the corporate world almost as a crutch, like yo, like holding on to the side of the pool. It's like, nah, yo, swimming to the deep end, yo. Let's do it. We gonna work. We gonna make it happen. You know, I went underwater a couple times, but I came back up. You know what I'm
Yeah.
saying?
Yeah. Yeah. I dipped for a second, but
Yeah.
I'm here. I
I'm
am
still
here.
here, yo. I'm still here. So that's enough to tell everybody, yo. You want to go after it, yo. Shoot.
So we got a couple more questions and we're gonna wrap up here. But your grandchildren and your great grandchildren, what will they learn about Grandpa and Pawpaw Holder
Yes.
uh,
Yes.
in your latter years and once you're gone? What will your children and even your grandchildren tell your great grandkids?
They gonna tell them that there was a time, because they're gonna be sitting, if everything goes well, I ain't gonna if when everything goes right, they're gonna be sitting on some nice property, new opportunities,
Yeah.
legacy money, things of that nature. But what they always gonna remember is that granddad, great granddad did not do this for himself, did not
Mm-hmm.
do this just for you all to have nice swimming pools. He did this to create more opportunity for others, period. He thought bigger than himself. So that's something that I want them to be able to continue to know, that it's core to who we are as a family. That I left the corporate world where I was chilling. I could have stayed in that for myself and stayed and chilled, you know, whatever. I left that to struggle for a few years so that I
Mm-hmm.
can do something and contribute something to the society that's about something bigger than me, and that will have an everlasting impact, my hope, for generations to come. And I want them to be able to stand in pride when they talk about their granddad and be like, wow, that's what's up.
Yeah, no,
That's what's up.
I think that's dope, man. So we're going to end here with a question. But before we get to that, tell us how they can find not only you, but Fourth Ave and where they can buy the products and all of those things. How can they find you?
Yeah, check me out. Check us out. Fourth Ave Market, the number 4th Ave Market. It's at Fourth Ave Market on IG, Facebook. Check us out, fourthavemarket.com. Check out the website. And yo, I'm at Do You Know Lean. You can see me on IG. You know, check me out. But
So we always end with sometimes this rapid fire question. Sometimes it's a top five. And so we're just going to do a top five for you, right? Give me
all
your
right.
top, coming from New York. Some people consider this to be the mecca of hip hop. You know, contingent upon who you ask.
Yeah.
You don't even have to explain. Now, if you want to, that's up to you. Give me your top five, and they better not all be from New York. But give me your top five.
Yes. Let me diversify now a little bit. Yeah.
Give me your top five hip hop rap artists of all time.
Yo, so I'll say top five. I definitely want to say, this is not even 1 through 5 order, but five I got. Yo, I definitely want to put Jay up there.
Okay.
I want to put Kendrick up there, and Tupac up there.
Okay.
Yo, I'm gonna say, I really, Big L, yo, like I really like Big L, right? Like Big L, he only had super short time in the career, but I just think his rap was just amazing.
But you hear
And then,
that a lot
yo,
about him though. Some people got him in their top 5 though on the low.
yeah, he's thorough, you know. And then, yo, for the last one, I might go with the tough one, yo. That last spot, yo. It's like
Look,
I'll go with who
some people watching like, I know who you're gonna say, and he
I
probably
know.
not gonna say it.
Yo, I'm gonna go with, I think which is one is probably more obvious, is Nas, because I grew up listening to Nas. It was written. I grew up listening to Nas, like all his albums. Those were just like, yo, it's just storytelling. So I would say, if you talk about of all time, and there's a couple. Lil Wayne might be up there too, yo. You know what I'm saying?
So here's the question.
You said 5, brother. You said 5.
Right, that was your top 5. So some people are like, well, is he in my is Big in your top 10? Some people
Oh man,
ask.
I'm tripping. Yes, I'm tripping. I guess that's when you get put on the spot like that, right? You know what I'm saying?
Look, when you said Big
I'm about to slide him
L,
in. I'm gonna have to slide him in the 5, yo. Somebody else has to go on the.
You ain't got to name who it is though. You ain't got to name it. Well, look, Salim, man, I appreciate you, man. I think what you and Tim and your team is doing is awesome. I think it's so dope. Look, family, make sure that you all go find them, support him, because they're doing some amazing work. And also, not just from the selling products component, they are educating our community on what it's like to be an entrepreneur and providing access and exposure for other Black entrepreneurs. So Salim, we appreciate you, man. If anything we can ever do to help you, let us know. Check us out on Dear Fathers. You can catch us on IG at dear.fathers, or you can catch us online at dearfathers.com. This is your man. It's your all-time favorite, Brandon T.L. Nelson. We appreciate you for checking in. We'll see you next time. Peace.